Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Top 10 Show. I am John Roca.
And I am Matt Nost.
And we've come to you with another brand new episode this week. And we understand, things have been a little crazy this week out in our world and in our country specifically. But, the Top 10 Show does not take a week off. But we adjusted our topic this week to address kind of what's going on in the world. So we thought we'd count down the top 10 protest films here for you today on the show. Matt, how are you, man? How are things on your end, dude, this week?
I mean, weird.
Yeah, right?
As if this year hasn't been strange enough. As everybody has pointed out numerous times, like once coronavirus set in, people are like, so let me get this straight. So far this year, we've had, World War III almost happened, and this happened, and this almost, and then this individual died, and now we have this pandemic, and there's another financial crisis after 14, 15 years ago, or whatever the case was.
Yeah.
And now we have complete social unrest, justifiably.
Right.
But in the midst of all this, like this fucking year, man, aliens were officially recognized as existing, at least unidentified flying objects.
That's right.
That didn't even really rate with people. Scientists discovered evidence, NASA scientists discovered evidence that there more than likely is a parallel universe, and they have proof of that. But nobody gave a flying fuck because 2020 has been a gut punch, man. This shit.
It's worse than a gut punch. It's been like you got knocked down and they keep kicking you in the stomach every time you try to get back up. So you don't have the air in your body to get back up. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're not making light of what happened to George Floyd. We're just saying in a figurative sense, it feels like all of us have been, kind of had the wind knocked out of us. And every time we try to stand up, something else comes along like a speeding train and knock us over. So yeah, very true.
Perhaps it was seeing the physical manifestation of that feeling that we were all experiencing subconsciously, and just once again, how many times? Like I saw a Chappelle clip from one of my favorite specials of his, talking about the fact that white people are just coming around to police brutality. He's like, didn't you guys think it's just a little suspicious that every time they found a dead black person, there was crack sprinkled on them? It's a great bit.
Let's get out of here, Johnson.
Yeah. And I laughed at it at the time, and the truth was just as true then as it is now. And that's sad, man.
Yeah.
I'm 4 decades into living in this country, and this problem, which I assumed was going to slowly go away when I was a kid, still persists. Still here.
Well, that's why that's why so many people are calling for a systemic change. And look, I think that's what's got to be important here. And I stressed this in a couple other shows. Is like, this is about changing the culture, changing the systemic approach to this situation. This is not about going, you're to blame, you need to die, you're over. This is about, hey, can you stop for a second and just listen to what I have to say? And let me show you something. And just maybe we've been right this whole time, and there should be some changes. It doesn't mean that any of you have to lose your jobs. You just have to do your jobs a little bit better. You have to be more understanding. You have to be more sympathetic to the situation, and you have to create an environment where people feel comfortable calling the police, not afraid to call the police. And that's all they're really trying to say. And it's extended out into art and everything else. Like the idea of Black Lives Matter is not just about, hey, don't kill me. It's about also, hey, how about some representation here that has some depth and complexity and is consistent and isn't just tokenism? So across the board. And so, I think this has been building, as Matt said, 4 decades in our country and longer. It's been building up to this point since slavery days. It's been about, hey, can we be seen equal here?
Yeah, it was baked into the DNA of this country.
Yes, true. Very true.
It's been built upon. We've had a war over it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I remember when I was a kid, and I had a babysitter, we were talking, and the idea of a black president came up, and I was like 10 or 11, something. And I remember him specifically saying, because it was the son of like one of the people that worked with my parents. My regular babysitter was busy or something, so he was watching us that day.
Yeah.
He didn't say it with malice. He's just like, I don't think in my lifetime I will see a black president. Cut to, 15, 20 years later, whatever the case was, and that had happened.
Yeah.
And that kind of progress and the backlash in this country to having a black president has been so fucking severe.
Yeah.
It's been mind-blowing. I thought we were past the vast majority of this, and sadly it starts at the top down.
Yeah.
So it's so fucking frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not even the one that it's directed specifically towards.
Right.
And it makes me feel as a white guy, utterly like I can't do anything about the change. I am just as outraged as you. The systemic racism that is built into everything from the police onto financial institutions and education and everything else is rigged in certain people's favor. And it's you don't realize it until you see it. And now that you see it, it can't be unseen. And why are we lying about the elephant that's in the fucking room? Because shit in the corner and we can all smell it. We can all smell it. And I don't understand how you can blind yourself to that kind of disgusting stench. This fucking odorous bowel of hell kind of smell. And so it's been a fun fucking week. That's damn sure.
Yeah, man, I hear you. I mean, this is now more than ever, the idea of comedy, I think, is essential this week. I found myself turning more and more, as you said, to Chappelle stuff, some of the Eddie stuff. That Sarah, a comedian that's online who does the Trump invitations on TikTok, she's been hilarious. So like those little pockets of moments where I get to just kind of like detox for a second and just try to laugh again because it's so terrifying to see some of the images out in the streets with the tear gas and the rubber bullets and the batons. And of course, there are looters and there are rioters who don't necessarily who are not necessarily behind the original source of the cause, which is to protest the death of George Floyd and to uplift the idea of Black Lives Mattering. And so I understand that as well. This is not a one-sided thing. There is violence. You're seeing violence on both sides. You're seeing some strange characters committing the violence on both sides. So this has been 7 layers of insanity. And every time you uncover one layer, a new layer seems to pop up the further you dig down. You're just like, what the hell is going on? And now this morning, seeing all that black fencing being put up around the White House to keep protesters out because, the president, obviously, and all the other people are scared that those people are getting closer and closer. And last night, I think it was 1 million people last night who were outside, or there was an exorbitant number of people who were outside the White House protesting. There were way more protesters who came back after they tear gassed them out. And that is a hell of an encouraging sign that it doesn't matter what you do, we'll come back in larger numbers. It's like a Spartacus situation, man. It's just like fascinating to watch. And all those people are out there. So, so it's clear that the movement is a strong thing that's happening in our world, not just our country, but in our world, marches all over the world. Yeah.
I love that the White House is making the claim that they didn't use tear gas or rubber bullets. And you're like, okay, well, that's semantics.
Right.
Some shit that I can't remember the name of it, but it ends in the letters. It's like crowd clear OC, and the OC stands for the stuff called oleoresin capsicum. Capsicum is the heat from pepper. So basically, you created aerosol pepper spray, which then falls into under the definition of tear gas because that's all tear gas does or gets these symptoms from people. So technically, it's not labeled as tear gas, but it is in essence, that is exactly what it is.
Right.
Tear gas a priest or some of the clergy to get a photo op in front of a fucking church. And then today, police security force from the White House is not allowing the bishop to hold a vigil outside. And as someone tweeted, I was like, I think that violates every clause of the First Amendment all in one.
Yes.
You're like, it's true.
Yeah.
Free assembly, free speech, exercising religious rights. Yeah. It's like, no, it's not for us. No.
No, it's because it's all going to look bad on him. It has nothing to do with securing people or securing America. No. It has nothing to do with that. It's all about the fact that he looks like an absolute dope, and everyone protesting him makes it even more, and that administration makes it even more evident, and which is why he's reacted like a child and going, I'm going to get the active duty military involved here now. It's taking a bazooka to an ant. And it's like, this is not the appropriate response. Right. Exactly. If you had just let people protest and come out and say, like, it would have been such an easy fix, Matt. If you just let the protest and say, yes, George Floyd should not have been killed. We're going to take a look at this. This needs to change. Clearly, I'll get my people on it. These people have a right to protest. It's okay.
1,000%.
Right. And it's when you set the police out there and set the military out there, National Guard units, to stand. I mean, watching that thing at the White House, they're standing on the fence, the National Guard guys, and they are just some of them are like revving to shoot their weapons. And you're just like, that's not America.
Yeah,
that's not America.
It's a dictatorship.
Yes.
And I don't give two shits that it's Trump. I don't want any president to have this power because they're above the law. They're above the people who put them into this position. They're there to represent our needs and wants, not their own. I don't care if Democrat, Republican, Whig. It doesn't fucking matter who they are. I don't know. It's frustrating on every front. And it seems so overwhelming that I don't know where, but change has to start specifically somewhere. Yeah. So just inch towards a better future, something better than this, because this is not good. This is not the best of us. This is the worst of us.
This is all happening, Matt, because a reason this is happening in such large numbers is because we're all home, dude. Everyone is home from the coronavirus, or else there's no way these protests across the country would have the same number of people who would show up to risk losing their jobs to be part of these protests consistently day after day. These are people that you've sent home and you've told not to come home. Companies have said, don't come to work. So these people are home and they're out of a job or they're furloughed. And so they're angry. And when they see things like this,
the lead up to this, they got furloughed, unemployed, but the top 1% added like $420 billion to their net worth.
Exactly.
How is that not a middle finger to? I mean, it is in essence, eat the rich. If you ever read the full actual thing where it eats, hey, I need medicine. That's not my fault that you got sick, type of thing. That eventually open his door and they look pale and their cheeks are sunk and whatnot. You look too good. You fattened yourself up on all this. It's 419 or whatever it was. I know it was over 400 billion, but Floyd counterfeiting money is what I read. Yeah. And I believe I read it was a $20 bill.
Yeah, that's it.
It'd be one thing if he was threatening other human lives, but it was like a 20. Worst cases is 100.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and even what you just said, I mean, like, even if he was threatening human life, you still don't step on his neck and kill the man. There are recourses. Plenty of white people have threatened other people's lives and have not had cops put knees on their necks and kill them and suffocate them. So the idea that he could have done you could put him in any category almost, even serial killer status. They don't put their knees on the neck of these white guys when they arrest them.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing at the end of the day. They don't kill them. Right. Exactly. And so that's the frustrating part of it all to me is this is such a simple thing to see. And of course, one side of the political spectrum is twisting it because they just want to hold on to the rioters because they have nothing else to hold on to. And so they just want to paint the protesters as pseudo rioters and, we're protecting businesses and blah, 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 blah.
And look, there are some assholes on both.
Of course.
Stirring up, and making this what it's not really about. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying there aren't people, on the left that are looting or whatever the case is.
Sure.
There's some. I don't know what the percentage is, but it seems like the vast majority just want their voices to be heard. They're sick of crying out in the darkness. Why don't take a second to listen? Because, it seems like they might have a point. So
that's all the movement is asking, Matt, is for people to stop for a second and just listen. That's it.
Please, just listen. Listen to this. Yeah. Oh, you're outraged by this? Here's 5 in the past year. Here's the guy that was, going through a neighborhood down south.
Right. Ahmaud Arbery.
Not a month ago.
Yeah.
And 2 guys hunted him down in the fucking streets.
Yeah.
Over what, a TV?
It was something stupid.
Something stupid.
Right. But like you said, that bleeds down from the top. When you dehumanize a particular race of people, then you make it easier for the majority race to destroy the minority race, because in their minds, they don't see them as actual human beings or people of worth, or they don't factor in that this death could cost, real pain, real suffering, and they won't feel guilty about it. And so that's that kind of thing. Once you dehumanize a certain race or section of people, it makes it easier. And by making it easier, I think the blood is somewhat on your hands indirectly, So it's just madness all around, just madness all around. And we don't know what the answer is.
I know what you're saying. That it's tough to prove that.
Oh, of course.
Without a shadow of a doubt. So to condemn someone of that without being able to do it is really difficult for me specifically. I'm saying, though, there have been some actors within all of this that are just they're fanning the flames in the worst.
Yes. Yeah. Irresponsibly so, because they think they won't be touched in their ivory towers. But we've seen
they have freedom of speech. But if
we've also
fire in a theater, there are repercussions for that.
There is. Freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom of consequence, rather. Yeah. And also, we've seen this so many times, Matt. We're both students of history. We've seen this. This is when a country tips over into revolution, economic distress, the haves having way more than the have-nots, and a dictatorship. And when that starts to happen, the natural impulse of Americans is to revolt. And this is where I feel like we're marching towards that situation here if something doesn't happen, and that scares the living hell out of me, man. If he starts to say we can't vote in November for them, they're already starting to, undercut the mail-in ballots thing. Yeah.
Yep, but they can't stop it.
I hope so, man. I don't put anything past them now.
Nah, legitimately, it takes way too long to set up all the different stuff for an election. So the election is happening regardless.
Yeah, I hope so.
If that doesn't happen, then we are no longer a democracy.
Right.
There's too many people on both sides. On each side, does not want to see something like that happen, because then he rules by what? He's not an elected official.
Not at that point.
Technically, you have a 4-year term. At the end of 4 years,
right?
So do we then have to have a congressional act to extend his presidency until an election happens? Like, there's a lot of fallout from that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. But I don't know. I'm willing to stake quite a bit on that.
I respect that.
God, I hope so. What a way to start a show, huh?
Well, look,
is anybody still listening?
Yeah, I hope so. It's a protest films podcast, so we're in the mood because we had the protest situation. So clearly, we're getting people in the mood to hear us count down these films. And that was just you guys tune into us every week. You all rather tune into us every week, and whatever's in our mind comes up organically. And that was in our mind over the last 20 minutes or whatever. If we've offended some of you, this I can't say we apologize, but if we've offended some of you, it wasn't the intention. It's more a matter to have the conversation between Matt and I, just when we get the chance to catch up with each other.
It's good that you know our views.
Yes. Agreed.
I'm willing to hear another viewpoint. If you want to reach out and discuss with me and potentially John.
Yeah.
Fine. I'm willing to have the discourse, but know that this is how we feel. And there you go. We don't shove it down your throat every week. It's not what this show is, but this is where we stand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely agreed. All right. Anyway, so we're going to get into today. We're going to count down the top 10 protest films. I think this means a film that has a protest in it, or a film that is centered around a protest. So all of that was what I factored into my list. I don't know how you came up with your list, Matt. But do you want to tell them how the show works?
Sorry, I've like 5 things I got text about right before we started.
No worries.
Once we set a topic, we go our individual ways and create personal top 10 lists. Show back up here. I do my bottom 3. He does his bottom 3. I do my next 2. He does his next 2. Then we trade one apiece. Once we have revealed our personal top 10 lists, we create the shows between the two of us.
Boom. All right. Okay.
So how did you arrive at your protest movies?
Oh, yeah. Like I was saying, for me, it was about a film that either had a protest in it, or a film that's centered around a protest and the repercussions of that protest. And it isn't just a marching protest. There were other protests, other versions of protests that I factored into this. So, all right.
Okay, so my number 10.
Yeah.
The reason it's 10, but V for Vendetta.
All right, it's a slight punt. Punt. But yeah, good choice. What's your 9?
My 9 is Trumbo.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, man.
It's about McCarthyism
here
in the United States. And if you don't know what that is, the Red Scare, the Red Menace from post-World War II America, there was a congressman, McCarthy, that went after Charlie McCarthy, that went after anybody that was suspected of being a communist because we wanted to root them out because it's capitalism all the way here, USA #1.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was, from that, deeming individuals would get, anyone deemed a communist could get thrown out of specific jobs. And they came after Hollywood because they didn't want communists putting their propaganda out into pop culture and influencing people's opinions outside of capitalism. So McCarthy was holding these hearings, and Trumbo was a writer in Hollywood, and he was suspected of being a communist, so he was part of this blacklist. And it's a story about him going through that and continuing to work, and eventually Kirk Douglas reaching out to him because he wanted him to write Spartacus.
Right.
And, seeing Trumbo work behind the scenes, and there's, it's someone that holds a different opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. You have the freedom and ability to do that within this country.
Yeah.
So to be blackballed out for your beliefs, which are not in violation of any law, and just going through that, it's a departure from most of the rest on the list. And Bryan Cranston is excellent. The movie as a whole is good, but he's excellent in it.
Cool.
Do you see it?
I have seen it. I thought he was good in it. I'm not the biggest fan of the movie. I thought it kind of, some of the narratives I felt like were a little jumbled for me, but overall I thought his performance saves the movie for sure. And Goodman is great in it as well. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay.
What do you got at number 8?
8. It's probably a punt for you, but Selma.
What do I have? Selma. Oh no, it's my number 9. Wow, higher on your list. Interesting. Wow. Intriguing.
Yeah, V for Vendetta for me. Everything else is either closer to truth or is truth, or based on a true story type of thing. So V for Vendetta, basically, what could be.
I can respect that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Selma has more emotional resonance to me than Trumbo, which is about Martin Luther King. Here. I don't know. It would be high. I wanted so much more from this movie. It's a good movie.
It's a small movie is what it is. It's a good movie. It's just a small movie. And it could have had an epic nature to it. But the way Ava went about directing it, she went with David Oyelowo, not that well-known of a guy, an English actor. And I think Carmen Ejogo plays Coretta Scott King, also not really a well-known actress, really. But whenever she shows up, always enjoyable to watch her work. So, and the way it's shot, I think Lakeith Stanfield's in this too, one of his first early roles as well, but it's not like cast with Denzel or cast with, something huge. So it's presented in a certain way that is on smaller scale. So it's not a big blow up film, but it is a very well-made film. And like you said, resonant, very emotionally resonant, watching that situation on the bridge and what happened there.
And surprisingly, there haven't been a whole bunch of movies on Dr. King.
Yeah, I mean, there was the series in the 80s with Paul Winfield playing him. And then there have been a couple other ones where people have played Martin Luther King. But I don't know if there's too many films that were made necessarily about Martin Luther King Jr. It's tough to tackle a subject like that too, Matt, because he's such a uniquely, just a uniquely special kind of person with a special kind of energy. I think Oyelowo did a really good job in this movie of capturing some of that at a younger age. But there's a calming presence with him that is tough to find in most actors who attempt to play Martin Luther King Jr. because it's that combo of like calming presence, but also that aura of like, whoa, like this kind of, righteous aura, not in a negative way, in the best sense of that word. And so it's difficult to find someone who has that right combo. Kind of like Marilyn. I've never seen Marilyn Monroe done well, in my opinion. It's just my opinion. I've never seen anybody really capture her sexual energy as well as her vulnerability and talent and physical approximation as well. I've never seen anyone do that with Marilyn. And so I feel that way about Martin Luther King. It's tough to tackle it, but I thought Ava did a fantastic job with this one.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you do, like this movie because Dr. King will be done again.
Yeah. Some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, but like this or like Lincoln, like just take a sliver of time. Like the lead up to the speech in Washington, I Have a Dream. And just the build up to, I want to say I've seen something in regards to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I wanted more from it. That's why it's lower on my list. I think it's good. It just, I don't know. It reminds me of an excellent TV movie.
Oh, fair. Okay.
HBO movie.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Boycott. Boycott is what they did with Jeffrey Wright, where he played a young Martin Luther King Jr. But yeah, there's not that many. I'm looking right now. There's not that many films about Martin Luther King Jr. So yeah, very interesting. So that was your 8?
That was my 8. What do you got?
Okay. My 10 is Milk.
Oh, that's a punt.
Okay. All right. My 9 is Selma. My number 8 is Norma Ray.
All right. That's my number 7.
Okay, cool. I just saw this film last year for the first time. Yeah, and I thoroughly loved it. I loved it. Like I thought it was going to be dated. I'm not always the biggest Sally Field person. And then I watched it and I was just blown away by that film and the what she went through to try to make that happen, the protest that she did, and even that iconic moment that everyone's seen where she holds up the sign that says Union. I thought it was going to be like, okay, I see it coming. It built to it so perfectly that I was moved by that moment as if I was seeing it for the first time ever. And I loved that. And I can't remember the actor who plays the Union guy who tries to convince her.
York?
Yeah. He's a character actor, has been in a million things. I think he was
Beau Bridges is her husband.
Yeah, Beau Bridges, yeah.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I couldn't pull his name.
Yeah, he was the alcalde in Zorro the Gay Blade, but he's done a million things. He recently passed as well, and I thought their chemistry throughout the movie was the essential thing that sold me in the movie, because you saw the desperation and the frustration and the things she had to overcome. And there's a great documentary, Harlan County, USA, which I did not put on my list, but
they might want to stop talking right there.
I'm just saying there's a great documentary out there that I didn't put on my list, but is kind of mirroring what happens with Norma Ray as well. And so I thoroughly loved this movie and enjoyed her performance.
Yeah, she's great in it. She won the Oscar for this.
Yes.
And that's the "You Really Like Me" speech for those of you out there. Yeah, it's I like when I like Sally Field, I like her a lot, and then the other times the movie, it's she's part of a movie that I don't really care for.
Yeah.
I don't really ever blame her. It's just like, this isn't my cup of tea. It just wasn't made for me or our whatever. Right. But when I do like her, I like her, quite a bit.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's good. It's just workers standing up for themselves, unfair labor conditions. Like her dad dies on the job because he can't basically take a break when he needs to take a break.
Yep.
And just to, the fact that conditions were like that 40 years ago, or at this point, 50 years ago, but it doesn't seem like that long ago. It's sad.
Well, it's still happening now, man. You the news story broke today about how Amazon has taken away the extra pay now for these people who are frontline workers. They've decided to take away their extra pay now, and it's like, what the crap, man? What the hell? And he just became, he's about to become a trillionaire, for God's sakes, and here he's still nickel and diming his workforce to pieces. And unfortunately, that as great as a country as we are for innovation and technology and advancement of incredible things that we can all have access to and discover so much about and get educated from, on the other side of the coin, there are so many businesses that want to nickel and dime their workers to the nth degree so that the executives and the owners can make as much money as possible. And unfortunately, that's an American tradition as well.
Yeah.
And that's what Norma Ray tackles, this idea of like, how can you work us 12 hours a day without a break, or with only a 5-minute break and not even time for lunch, only a quick lunch and then jump back on? Like, how can you do that? It's because the bosses only care about productivity, because their bosses have told them, you better produce this level and hit this quota or your job's out.
Exactly.
So it becomes a thing that rolls downhill, you know?
Yeah, but then they can point to, well, it's because we have shareholders. We need to return as much money to shareholders.
Right.
The shareholders expect so much because, then there's
They're
another
investing.
business forecasting what the projected, quarterly outcomes should be and their earnings estimates, and they need to hit these benchmarks. It's just a whole system of, we need to squeeze as much money and products out of people as we possibly can, so that, 250 people in this world can live like kings.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Beyond kings. Beyond kings.
Yeah, beyond.
Yeah.
To a degree that kings of a millennia ago couldn't even fathom.
Yeah.
Exist.
True.
Anyway, so times.
Norma Ray. Ron Liebman is the actor. Ron Liebman. That's his name, who plays the New York guy who comes down to unionize him. All right. So what's your number 7?
That was my 7. My 6.
Oh, right. What's your 6?
Is The Punt From You with Milk.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cool.
Sean Penn at his height during that run was this. I Am Sam was trying to be Oscar bait.
Yep.
And you have Mystic River, and it was like this Sean Penn juggernaut for 4 or 5 years, where everything he did was up for contention for best acting and picture. And it's a story of a gay politician in San Francisco that's basically fighting for the rights of his constituents, of other gay men, wanting their voice to be heard as opposed to marginalized. Yeah, one of the first in the country to do it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was the first. I don't believe so, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. The reason it's lower on my list, Matt, is it's not one I run back to all the time. It's not one I watch a lot, but I do remember that Sean Penn's performance was fantastic. Josh Brolin was great in the film as well. Emile Hirsch, good stuff. I think Chloe Sevigny's in this, or is it Maggie Gyllenhaal? One of those kind of type actresses are in this movie as well, all to make this happen. Real life thing in San Francisco, protesting the unfair treatment of homosexuals in the city at the time, and how that all stems out to his unfortunate assassination by a current member of the government, in Josh Brolin's character. And so that death scene is, oh man, it is heartbreaking to watch. I remember that distinctly from the film. But Sean Penn won the Oscar for this, which I think kind of bothers me too a little bit, because I really felt that Mickey Rourke deserved it for The Wrestler over him. So that affects me a little bit in liking the film. But the film itself is a fantastic film. It doesn't resonate as powerfully with me as the films that I put higher above on the list.
Okay. I don't, in this bottom 5 or this movie, this list in general, there aren't a whole bunch that I go back to all the time.
Okay.
Because of the discussion of the story that is happening within it. I do revisit them. But it's like, basically there's not going to be any end to these anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I watch, anyone that's worthwhile, but I don't run back to watch Selma. I don't run back to watch Trumbo. V for Vendetta I do, but it exists in a slightly different world to me because of the action elements and all that jazz.
Yes.
So I just think it was a story that I didn't know, as opposed to Selma and Trumbo.
Right.
Trumbo of the major players, and I knew that he was blacklisted, so I had a better idea. Whereas Harvey Milk, I didn't know really anything about whatsoever.
Yeah.
Or Norma Ray.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's a very good one. Sean Penn is excellent in it. It's got a great cast, and
certainly,
if you haven't seen it, it's totally worth the watch.
Absolutely. All right, so that was your 6.
Correct.
So my 7 is the punt from earlier, V for Vendetta.
Okay.
Like Matt just said, it's one I go back to and watch over and over again. Certainly iconic for me for wearing the anonymous mask that I do in the Schmodown. That was where that came from. Because I wore it one day for Halloween. I dressed up as V for Halloween one day, and that mask has always stayed with me. So just happened to work out that I used it to be a part of the Schmodown. But it's because the film, I love the book. I have the comic books up there, the original issues of when they came out. Like I started collecting those immediately as soon as they came out because of Alan Moore's involvement in it. So I have first run of each of one of those things, and then I bought the collected versions of them for the extra art in there and stories in there. So already it was a comic book that I thoroughly loved. And so I went into this film skeptically, wondering if I was going to like it at all. And I thoroughly did. I thought it was well done. I thought Hugo Weaving did a fantastic job with the voice. Natalie Portman was good in the film. The John Hurt, who they were skewering this idea of this almost, I wouldn't say Lord of the Flies, but almost this idea of a bloated British government that was gleefully stepping on the neck, for lack of a better term again, of the people below them to control them and force them into acting certain ways. And what V was doing was exposing the corruption that was at the source of all of this and would not stop until it exposed all the corruption, because he is, in essence, a creature that was created by them, or a human being that was transformed by them, because they were looking to do some experiments on human beings to turn them into basically robot armies, or human robot armies for them to keep the peace, quote unquote. And so to see one of their things that they create destroy them, there's a certain poetic justice to that. So I thoroughly love the book for that, but I also enjoy the movie very much for that.
It's crazy to think that, was it James Purefoy?
Yeah.
Was originally cast as the Hugo Weaving.
Right.
And Hugo Weaving's voice just helps create the mystique of so beautifully. It's like the synergy between the two. It's impossible for me to imagine anybody else's voice. It's like, James Earl Jones and Darth Vader. Darth Vader is nearly as good a character to me if he doesn't have that bellowing, deep, resonant voice of James Earl Jones.
Yep. Agreed.
So, Purefoy, who I like, he's a good actor.
Sure.
But his voice is just not what I think that character needs. So he turned it down because he didn't want to wear the mask all day. That's legit. I think he shot some of it and eventually was like, this isn't working for me type of thing.
Purefoy has an interesting arrogance about himself. And I don't mean in a negative way. I mean, he says a strong sense of self-confidence. But a lot of his projects don't become successful.
Don't take off.
No.
Rome was his best work, in my opinion.
I agree. Rome was absolutely best. I remember we went to see Solomon Kane.
I tried watching it like 5 times, man.
Dude,
I'm not kidding. It was on Amazon forever, and everybody was like, "Oh, that's a good one." And I was like, "Okay, I like him from Rome," so I was like, "I'm down to try it." He's a good actor.
Oh.
And first time I got like 10 minutes, and then the next time I started at 10-minute, made it another like 8 minutes, and was like, "This movie's not good."
Right.
Maybe if you make it to the end, you're like, "Yeah, it's fine," type of thing. I think that's the ceiling of it. After I was so bored, I literally like 10 times.
Shannon and I saw it at a special screening at Comic-Con that year that they were dropping it. And James Purefoy was there and introduced the film, which was shocking. And then we watched it, and I turned to Shannon an hour in, and I was like, I can't take anymore. Let's get out of here. So I think he's gone. The director's gone. We come down the aisle, and we start to walk out. And there's Purefoy in the, where you walk to go into the theater right after the lobby into the actual theater. I don't know what that's called, that little mini hallway. Yeah, anteroom. Whatever. You walk through it to get to the seats. He is standing there. He turns and looks at Shannon and I, and it feels like we've stolen something from his house. He gives us such a look because we're walking out of the movie, and he stares at us. He doesn't just glance, man. He stared right at Shannon and I, and we froze like, shit.
Yeah.
And we just turned, threw stuff away, and just kept walking out and did not look back because I'm sure he was pissed we were walking out of his movie, So
I think the best case scenario is you see him and you're like, "Hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name's John." And then just keep moving. just, hey, you know what? I like you.
You seem like a fine fellow. This film just doesn't do it for me.
I'm getting a phone call.
It's an emergency.
I gotta go.
But yeah, I mean, just looking to the right and seeing him there is like, oh shit. So, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, overall, that would have been weird to see James Purefoy in that role for sure. All right, so then my number 6 is an Irish/UK film called Bloody Sunday. Have you ever seen this?
Who's in it?
It's a bunch of people. James Nesbitt is in it. Nicholas Farrell is in it. Gerard McSorley. Those are like
I have seen that, but I didn't think about it for this.
British voice. I've been a big fan of James Nesbitt since Murphy's Law, which is a British TV show that he was in. He's one of the dwarfs in the Hobbit series as well.
Oh no, I have not seen this. I've seen the poster before. That's why I was sparking a bell.
I remember that this was a Paul Greengrass movie, and at the time, this is the next year after he did United 93, or the same year, I think, because that was what September 11 was 2001. So maybe the next year is this film, 2002. Came out in 2002. And I just remember that, because Greengrass and Born Identity and whatever, I just was into Greengrass stuff. And I remember this is one of these like small little films that got released in one of those art house cinemas we have here in LA. And I went to go see it, and I just absolutely loved it because Matt, you and I have talked about it. I'm a massive Anglophile. And I got to go see this thing. And of course, this is what U2 was singing when they sang Sunday Bloody Sunday. It's about this particular situation, and it's set in Derry, Northern Ireland. And I'm sure a lot of people who are aware of this one understand this one and what happens. And it's about these people that get caught up in the situation that's happening here between the Northern Irish and the British troops that are there, and the shootings that occur. And the drama. And Nesbitt is trying to control the situation from the beginning. So it's shot like almost like a mini doc. It's shot like a documentary style. Like you feel like you are right with them. It's almost all handheld, and everything and there's long takes. So it feels like you're actually watching this happen in real time. And I was blown away by the movie, because they're protesting the fact that these people have been killed by the British soldiers. So it's the uprising is starting to spread as the movie goes along. So you're watching how this thing all came about throughout the movie, and why this became such a rallying cry for Northern Ireland and for that song that U2 sings. So just fantastic work from Greengrass, fantastic work from James Nesbitt. And I'm reading.
Should check it out. It sounds good.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's good. It's I say the drama shows the events of the day through the eyes of Ivan Cooper, an SDLP member of the Parliament of Northern Ireland, who was a central organizer of the Northern Ireland Civil Rights Association march in Derry. So this was a march, and the march ended when British Army paratroopers fired on the demonstrators, killing 13 and wounding another who died 4.5 months later. In addition to the deaths, 14 other people were wounded. So throughout the film, he is trying to he senses that the unrest is like this. The British they're getting angrier and angrier about this impending march. And then as it starts to happen, he is trying to save who he can save and get in front of this and try to negotiate with the members of the British military there. And so it's just it's a tragic film to watch as it slowly unravels and the people die. And when the shootings start, he's just at a loss to try to figure out what happened and try to, avert more casualties. So it is a fantastic film. As Matt said, if you haven't seen it, definitely check this out. And you should too, Matt. I think you'd like it, actually.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically the reason why, I like a good protest movie. It's good to see historical examples of people standing up to what they feel is injustice and doing it through, simple protests, making your voice heard.
Yep.
Violence on violence only gets you so far. Eye for the world is blind.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so it sounds good.
Cool. All right, well, that's both of our bottom fives. We're going to take a quick break here and hear from some of our sponsors. For those of you who are listening to us on the podcast, and for those of you on YouTube, you'll get to enjoy this for a second. And we're back. All right.
Keep it going. I like that. We should isolate that and just make the song.
Okay.
That's fine. You do that and then send it to me, and I'll add some like mouth horns.
Perfect.
Like a trumpet coming in every once in a while, maybe a sax. I don't know. And then I'll send it back. We'll figure it out, and then boom, we just got to go like the movies type of.
Oh, perfect. My man running through the whole percussions, through the whole woodwind instruments. I like that. I like that you're going through all the woodwinds.
Let's do it. I played trombone.
I respect it, man. I respect it. All right. So what's your number 5, man?
My number 5 is the documentary you brought up, Harlan County, USA.
Oh, okay. Wow. Cool. All right.
Well, I lived in West Virginia for 8 years.
Right.
So I had heard tale of the coal miners' struggle, and then I didn't see this until I was much older. But by that point, I've read several books about miners being trapped in the working conditions, and just in essence, how terrible mining companies were to people. You lived on the mining company owned your home. So you didn't have a home, and they paid you in scrip, which you could use to buy stuff from the general store that the mining company owned, but you didn't have any actual money. So it was kind of a form of indentured servitude. There was no way to escape this cycle of poverty and bad education, terrible health care, everything across the board. It's really difficult. It's like when you see a movie like October Sky,
right?
Genuine promise, like to get them out of West Virginia or any kind of Appalachian area was difficult to do. And so Harlan County, USA is about miners striking for a fair contract, for getting paid sick leave, for the mines lawyers at one point come out and say that there is no incontrovertible proof that coal dust causes black lung, so you basically can't hold us liable. And you're like, there's no fucking chance, man. There's no chance. I wish we had footage of tobacco companies from the 60s doing this, because it'd be the exact same thing. Just like, when did you guys figure out the studies internally and then knowingly lie to us for decades about the health implications of this? And it's these people standing up, but it's a lot of the wives too, the families. It shows struggle. It embedded a reporter with them. And because I grew up, in West Virginia for 8 years, I grew up in Clarksburg. Yeah. And I remember writing a report about coal, and I could go out to this little ravine that had a creek, and we used to play down there. And you could find chunks of coal and shale and whatnot. And I included that as part of my report. I remember it specifically. Because I folded up a little envelope, made my own envelope, and then I glued it to this page. It was part of like this presentation, but I put a sliver of coal in there.
Right.
Anyway, it's so the story will resonate more than likely with someone like me who lived in that world for a time in his life, may still live. So good just to see it's a slice of Americana from 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah.
The struggles of those individuals and what they were going through.
And you see how powerful the voice of women are in protest movements. Like in Harlan County, you see a lot of these matriarchal ladies like throwing hammers down and being the kind of the linchpin and making this all happen, and also take care of their families at the same time. So it's like kind of insane to watch that. You think of coal miners, you think it's men going down there, but there were women involved in this whole situation as well, and how they kind of, pushed for things to happen and wouldn't stop, and I think that's incredible to watch in that documentary.
Yeah. I've been down in a mine, not a coal mine, it was a copper mine once. I could not. We went deep, not as deep as it goes, but we went deep. So that as we were going in, because we were on this little tiny train and you have to sit, and this was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And as we're going in, there's a final light, and the conductor stops and gets off and says, anybody want to get off? And it's all adults. And one dude was like, I can't take it.
Wow.
And walked in. And then once you got underneath, you think about, holy shit, I'm several hundred feet underground under a mountain right now.
Right.
And I'm only going to be here for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever. We went to like a couple different sections and got to see 2 different areas of different mining styles, an earlier version and then a later version. We at one point went into this huge chasm that they had dug out, but wood is holding up big chunks of it, whatnot. But it's,
Right.
As far as they can tell, structurally still sound. And you're looking at this like, oh my God, and we're so far under the earth right now to do this every day. So anyway, Harlan County, USA, it won the Oscar. It's a documentary. I think it's like a $1.40. It's not too long. It's super interesting, especially to me. But that's my 5.
It's well worth your time, dude. Absolutely. My 5 is Do the Right Thing.
That's my 4.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it doesn't start out as a protest, but becomes a protest by the end of the film. But you sense the bubbling racial tensions, obviously, throughout the movie. This is, to me, I think this is it's tough to say. I don't think it's the greatest Spike Lee film he's ever directed, but I think it's the most powerful film he's ever directed. And by that, I mean, it is good from back to front to back. And the message that it sends you is will stay with you forever. And that's why I think, people, the police and everybody overreacted to this film coming out, thought there was going to be like race wars in the theater because of this combustible notion that you might show that police brutality does happen in real life, or in the world rather. And of course, police were afraid, people are going to get upset, blah, blah, blah. And there's going to be fights in this, but none of that materialized. Just like Joker, none of that bullshit materialized. It was like a film that just showed you what can happen and what factors are involved that lead to something tragic like this,
Yeah.
And the reaction from Ruby Dee and from Ozzie Davis, when it happens, when what happens to Radio Raheem happens, that's where I cry every time, because those are the cries from 2 actors who actually marched with MLK, who probably actually saw. I mean, Ozzie Davis gave that great eulogy to Malcolm X, which we hear later on in the film of Malcolm X, and he was a friend with Malcolm X. So the cries of both of them, and especially Ruby Dee in that moment, is from generations of seeing this happen, descendants telling you from slavery days on what they experienced at the hands of white people in power.
Yeah.
And so it's incredible when you watch the movie throughout, and you've got the great characters like Bugging Out and Martin Lawrence's character, and what Ozzie Davis does initially as the mayor, and of course Spike Lee's character, and Danny Aiello and Torturo and all them, all characters cool. But when that moment happens, it just shows you that even in the world like that is a very bright world, everyone has like really bright colors for the most part, you still have this simmering racial tension that can lead to a tragic moment like that isn't intended to be tragic, but becomes tragic because a person can't let go of a certain situation. And it's just like, wow, man, And I don't mean Radio Raheem either. I mean the cop. So just a powerful, powerful film.
Yeah, it is. Just the thing, what happens to Radio Raheem? Like, so known within culture that it's been used as a joke before. Like there's one from Fresh Prince that's been floating around for the past week that where DJ Jazzy Jeff is getting on the witness stand, and Uncle Phil tells him, "Jeff, you can put your hands down now." And he was like, I don't think so, because he's got a gun. And all of a sudden, like, I was resisting arrest and got shot in the back 6 times. Like, thing it's meant as a joke, but sadly, it's one of those. It's it's funny because it's true.
Yeah.
Just the tragedy of the entire sequence is so commonplace.
Yeah.
That you're almost immune to it on some level.
Yeah. But this was the first time you'd seen this in a film, like really seen this in a film. This is, Spike. I think this is his 3rd film, because what he'd done, She's Gotta Have It, and then School Days, if I remember correctly.
I thought School Days was after this.
I feel like School Days is between them.
Okay.
Between them.
She's Gotta Have It. I'm not that big a fan of.
No, because it's first film. It's not like
it's just really slow.
Yeah, it's not like Reservoir Dogs for Quentin. Like that's a great first film to have.
That rarely happens.
Yeah. She's Gotta Have It. Okay. Yeah, check it out. I think School Days is between She's Gotta Have It and Do the Right Thing. I think.
Come on, Spike. IMDb.
Come on, Spike. Daddy needs a new pair of shoes.
She's Gotta Have It. Yep, School Days is in between.
Yeah, I had a feeling. If I have a good memory, I remember it being in between. And I remember School Days was because She's Gotta Have It. A lot of people enjoyed it at the time. So this is a new filmmaker. He's announced his presence. It's an independent filmmaker. He's black. You got to listen to him. And this is the 80s, by the way. And then tail end of the 80s. And then School Days comes out, and people were like, it wasn't received as powerfully by some as others. And then Do the Right Thing came out, and that was the one that everyone's like, oh shit, Spike Lee.
Yeah,
because School Days is so about like the idea that it exists within the black community of like if you're lighter skinned, somehow you get more preferential treatment than if you're darker skinned, and so it's an expert. It happens in the Latino community as well. This kind of white Latino versus dark Latino, that kind of shit, it happens. So, but this is one that just Do the Right Thing is just I don't know. What more can I say, man? It's just like it's a resonant film, bro.
So that's my 4. What's your 4?
My 4 is Gandhi.
I hadn't thought about that of course it's a protest film.
Yep.
All right, well, I'll bump one off my list. Gandhi makes mine.
Okay.
I'd put it at the 3-4 range.
Oh, really? Okay.
Gandhi's good, man.
I know it is.
I thought.
Yeah.
After you had been, talking it up for years, I wasn't hesitant to. It's one of many movies.
Of course.
You haven't seen.
Yeah.
And it is. It's about social protest. What kills me is the end when he's lying in that daybed and people are just out on rooftops, like just trying to be around him.
Yeah.
A hunger strike and this emaciated, but he is the spirit of a people. And you see it. And this is a true story. And it's all through nonviolent, just trying to change the way people view themselves and society views them.
Yeah. And this it's very akin to Citizen Kane in one way, and that is this is Ben Kingsley's first film. He's the lead of this thing. It's a almost 3-hour epic. He's 26 years old when he is playing Gandhi, all the way to when Gandhi is, an old man who gets assassinated, like Wells is when he plays Charles Foster Kane all the way to the end. And so to me, it was the first time I'd seen someone do that. And I think there's 3 instances in my mind that stick around. It's him. It's the actor who played King Arthur in Excalibur. So convincing when he's young, just as convincing when he's old. And I think with Kane, it's the same thing. And with Gandhi, it's the same thing. Those are the 3 that really stick out for me when I think about performances that span multiple years. And you see someone go from a young man into an old man, and it's incredibly believable. He's fantastic. And the film is engrossing as hell. Some people call it boring. I think you're insane. Richard Attenborough directs a masterpiece here, and people kind of make fun of it and denigrate it, but it is a brilliant, brilliant film with phenomenal performances and storylines that twist and turn in ways you don't expect. The issues with him and his wife at times. He isn't deified in the movie. He's shown as a man who is kind of trying to do the right thing, but even when he starts to do the right thing, there is some kind that people have to change, including him, with his understanding of not everyone is going to be as zealous about it as you are, and you have to kind of understand that and build within the movement. And then, of course, the movement splinters because once you give people power for self-determination, then there are people who push back and go, well, I don't want to have self-determination as he deems my self-determination. I want my own self-determination, without remembering or factoring in the fact that he gave you the chance to even have any self-determination. So it's great how it explores all of that throughout the movie.
Yeah, I think the pace kind of represents how someone becomes a cultural figure at that time in world history. And it's slow.
Yeah.
it's not like he's out campaigning for fame,
right,
notoriety. He's just out to try and change society, and that is a slow process. Because you have to reach out. There needs to be personal connection on an issue like this, that you can tie a face to the situation and to the problem, and it makes it much more difficult to turn a blind eye to it.
Yep. Agreed, man.
Yeah, Gandhi, it's excellent. I think it's fully justified at that kind of length.
Yep.
Like once you see it, to tell the story of a life like this, it's impressive that they did it in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because it spans the entirety. They start from when he's a young man to when he finishes his time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good call.
What's your number 3?
My 3 is Hunger, the Fassbender.
Oh yeah, good. That's my number 3. Good choice, man.
It is a good choice. But when it's him and what's his name from Star Trek Next Generation, the Irish actor.
Oh yeah, Cole Meany. Yep.
Cole Meany. And they're just sitting across from each other talking. Undeniably riveting. And it's just two men talking, and they're having a discussion about why they're doing this. Like, it's a coded discussion at sometimes, and other times it's overt. Why you're doing it, the fact that this has failed in the past, what makes this different. I love that he opens talking about Cole Meany's more successful brother within the
right.
But he's here trying to affect real change, boots on the ground type of change.
Yeah.
Being on the front lines of it. Like the lineup when it almost looks like a bad fraternity hazing, and all the cops are in a line and they just one by one throw IRA members down, and they all just pummel them until basically it's you need to get to the other side, and you're just getting the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah, man.
For no other reason than a disagreement of opinion and who has the right to rule, and we don't believe you do. We are our own sovereign people, and the British government not really enjoying that kind of opinion. It's a brutal, dark movie. It's good though.
It's amazing how much anger people can have in positions of power, and what they, like the whole thing that happens to him, and the way they treat him. Throwing him in that cell naked and with just a blanket, and everything that they try to do to get. In the Name of the Father covers this as well. This idea of as soon as you're labeled a certain way, it's like at the time, these English prison guards felt that they could do whatever they want to you.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to wipe that clean.
Yeah. Right. And it's funny. We just talked about Gandhi's, the idea of the hunger strike, like you were mentioning. Same thing here, right? This hunger strike that kind of sparks this revolution or this fight back.
And that will get the public's attention. Riot at a prison only works if it's Attica.
Right.
Whereas hunger strike, who can't identify with what the feeling of being hungry is, and then basically seeing the waste of a human individual after they deprive themselves of this for a political ideal. And a human moralistic right to them. It's good. But Fassbender, I wish we got more Fassbender and really good movies, but we just get Fassbender shit, and his career is not going to last long.
Yeah, you're so right, man. You couldn't be more right about something, because he is such an excellent actor.
He is. Dude, Magneto is so good.
Yeah, true.
That scene with the knife against the Nazis.
Yeah. Oh.
So captivating, because it looks like he is like getting retribution for the almost cartoonish scene before, when he's in a concentration camp.
Yeah.
And then to take it into this, which should be cartoonish, making a knife fly around, and looks so real because of the determination, revenge in his eyes is honest, and you're like, where did it come from? Jesus Christ, this is a comic book movie. He brings that intensity, to Hunger.
Yeah.
And I always like Cole Meany. He's good.
Cole Meany's always good. Yeah, right?
I know. He just seems like a likable dude. He's always good. I like him in everything he's ever been in. He's one of my favorite parts of Next Generation. I wish he got more.
He's great in The Commitments.
Yeah, he's great in The Commitments.
He's so funny.
And oh shoot. I'll never pull it.
What's it about?
British crime movie that has to do with Layer Cake.
Layer Cake, yeah.
Layer Cake. Anyway,
He did a great little quiet film. I think it's called The Van. Where it's an Irish small Irish film where his daughter gets pregnant when she's 16, and he has to like kind of deal with it. Okay. And it's such an interesting look for him because he always plays like in Con Air, he always plays the brusque kind of dude. Yeah. And every once in a while he gets to play like a regular vulnerable dad like he does in The Commitments. And this film is it's like Chef. It's almost like Chef, where it's just this journey with him and his daughter, and of course the other family members, but like him and his daughter having this journey together, like how he is going to change his anger at her having this happen to her into being a supportive father to help her through this process, and the stuff and the kind of guff he takes from the other dudes, his other fellow Irish tough guys in that thing. So I mean, he does such great work in so many films, man. He's just such a great character actor, and he'll never win an Oscar. Never won a fucking Emmy or a Golden Globe, and it's a shame.
He's got to be jealous of, or not jealous, but envious of Domhnall Gleeson's, or Brendan Gleeson.
Brendan Gleeson, right?
Yeah, not Domhnall's son, right. But Brendan Gleeson. Because it's they're two excellent actors, but I can easily say, I could see bringing in him to read for this. And absolutely. Numerous of his. I still like Brendan Gleeson though, so I'm glad he got the parts he got.
True. What's your number 2?
So those are 3. My 2 is Cry Freedom.
Oh, the Stephen Biko film. Okay.
Yeah, with Denzel and Kevin Kline.
Yeah, good film, man. Good film.
But it's about South African apartheid, and at this point, Nelson Mandela is already in jail, and Biko's just a guy raising the same points. Mm-hmm. And Kevin Kline plays the editor of the paper where he lives, and the two of them find each other. Kevin Kline's character has heard of Biko, and Biko has kind of reached out to him, and they form a friendship. And then Biko gets killed by the police, gets taken into custody, but gets beaten within an inch of his life, and then they take him to the hospital too late, and he succumbs to his wounds. Yep. It's about Kevin Kline then needing to write his story so that, as he puts it, his name doesn't die with him, doesn't be buried in the ground by the South African government, because it's the voices of the story, the people that go through it, that pay the highest toll, that are help change, turn the tide of this. And about Kevin Kline then having to get out of the country, and the South African government trying to stop him. Yeah. And it's a slow build. Like, you could take this more to Argo level, where there's more tension and whatnot, and they have tension in certain moments, but it's more human. Yeah. The friendships and the relationships that you build with your community. Right. And what you view as your community.
Well, and also how this corruption, and by the way, it's kind of crazy, Matt, to be in 2020 and go back and watch these films, because so much changed once people got sick of it. Once enough people got sick of apartheid, it was overturned quickly. And all these people had to, they had these councils with Desmond Tutu and Mandela, these I don't know what they call those councils, but where they came and they called everybody out for what they did, retribution councils. And I think people were able to family members were able to come and yell at the guards or yell at the people who imprisoned their family members and doomed them to death in those prisons for just speaking out against apartheid. Imagine that, being jailed, Matt, for having an issue with how racist policies being administered in your country. How ironic,
The end of the movie is, so it was the early 60s. South Africa made imprisonment. They didn't have a reason, so they could imprison anybody for whatever they chose. Right. In law. So the people that got imprisoned for standing up to apartheid, they do a scroll of the list of date of death, the individual's first initial and last name, and then the explanation of how they died. And it's suicide by hanging, fell down 7 floors, fell down the stairs, no official, and it just keeps going. It's the same ludicrous excuse or no excuse at all. Yeah. Over and over again for 20 some odd years. Yeah. And it's just a scroll of names. It's here's people here's the ones we have official records that we know they killed. But it all stems from Biko. So that's what I like about it. The end of the movie then goes back to the reason this was all set in place was the cops opened up on a peaceable protest and killed 700, I think, kids or something.
Yep.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but so what community, what group of individuals, what humans wouldn't get pissed off?
Yeah.
700 kids or 700 people. I know the number 700 was in there.
Yeah.
But kids, women, children, men, didn't matter, indiscriminately. The elderly, the infirmed, if you were in that crowd, we're just opening up gunfire on you because this is an illegal protest, even though all they're saying is we want our voice to be heard.
Yeah.
Like, the injustice of this country is not right. Just ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I think never in the history of the Western world has a dictatorship been able to keep people down. Eventually, people revolt. And no matter what, democracy or not democracy, eventually they revolt. And the dictators always think, if I keep killing them, they won't come after me. Or I'll be able to keep them, control them. I'll fear them. I'll scare them into. But the human spirit is indomitable, man. It is indomitable. It will fight. It will stay alive. It's a survival instinct that kicks in. And once it identifies you as the thing that could threaten its life, then as a collective, people fight back in one form or another. And they keep coming. And no dictators ever survived that in a Western world, if we're looking at history. So
yeah, but now we have better ways to keep people in line, and we can track them, and we've got
sure. But all it takes is one hacker to be on the right side and completely demolish all of that and expose all their emails, their text messages, their interactions. I mean, we just saw it in sports. That quarterback from Georgia, Jake Fromm, someone released his text messages with a friend of his, and he said, he said only elite white people should own guns. So today he spent all day apologizing this, and that's anybody can hack your shit, man.
Yeah, you don't have a job.
he's the backup in Buffalo.
Yeah, you don't get it. Well, I thought it was Allen. So they drafted another quarterback. I haven't really paid attention.
Yeah, Josh Allen is their starting quarterback.
Yeah.
But I think they picked up Fromm as a backup. Okay. He's a rookie QB. Here we go.
Yeah, some of the Drew Brees stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to miss. That.
The Drew Brees stuff was. But he said, Fromm wrote, but no guns are good. They need to let me get suppressors. Just make them very expensive so only elite white people can get them. Ha, ha, ha. Now, it's a strong statement to make. But certainly Chris Rock made it in a stand-up saying they can sell all the guns they want, but they should make the bullets $500 a bullet.
Yeah, exactly. And it could be one of those things of it was genuinely a joke.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I am going so far right wing. You know that I'm not like this. That's what makes it funny.
Exactly.
I make those jokes all the time. With my friends, I'll text them, dear God, if they got a hold of my text, there's all kinds of stuff that, if you take it out of context, paints me as the most evil person. Nothing makes me laugh harder than going and spouting everything that I think is utterly wrong. Just being like, that's my view, kind of like it or lump it. I don't know. Maybe he is.
Right.
My favorite was Bosa on San Fran when people were going at him on Twitter.
Oh, really?
But just because he's an ardent Trump supporter.
Yes, he is.
And just people making jokes type of thing. Like when San Fran did blackout and they just put a black thing up. It's like, breaking news, Bosa has demanded a trade from the San Francisco 49ers type of thing. It's a joke. It's funny, though. It's funny. It is. I've seen a few where it's just like, that's a good joke.
Fair enough. My number two is back to our list. My number two is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Okay. Yeah, that's a protest.
Right. As a smaller thing, it's a protest. The film itself is to symbolize what is happening in the 70s. This idea of an authoritarian regime, trying to force people to believe they're crazy, right? And not allow certain people to have rights in situations. So, I mean, the film is an allegory for what was happening at the time in the 70s with Vietnam and other things of that, Nixon and all of that into the early 70s. So this idea of like trying to keep people down. So I see it as a protest film because he's protesting the conditions in that mental asylum, in that mental ward.
Sure.
And he's trying to rally people to protest. And they do protest. They do try to overturn things there with Nurse Ratched, Louise Fletcher, who is chilling in that role. They try to stop her, but what happens in the end happens in the end, and the tragedy that happens as well, the double tragedy, to be honest with you, that happens in that movie, one heartbreaking and one just ultimately incredibly sad. So to me, I see it as a protest movie because it's about this idea of like trying to break free from an authoritarian regime and how futile it could possibly be. Because they do have all the power, they do have a way to keep you down, and they can turn people against you who were formerly with you.
Yeah,
and they have the means with which to, turn you essentially into a docile worker marching into the factory like Metropolis, which is what happens throughout the film. So I put it in that level, and I think the film's incredible, which is why I put it this high as well. So.
It is they are protesting and up for what they feel are their rights. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought of it like that.
People can be mad at me for it, but it's just how I feel.
I can't imagine someone will be.
All right. So what's your number one?
My number one is Malcolm X.
Same here. Number one. Hell yeah.
Because it opened my eyes to a perspective that I knew, but I didn't know that side of the issue. Because as a white kid, I'm taught Martin Luther King. I know about Dr. King and the peaceful protests and all that. And then I knew the Black Panthers, but Malcolm X has nothing to do with that. But what I was kind of, I don't want to say I was educated with, perhaps shielded from, or just not taught, was there's a completely other side of that argument that on some level is just as valid.
Yeah.
Like if you keep getting punched, you're just never going to punch back. It doesn't seem human. So as you become an adult and you look at like Malcolm X's change from, this kid, and he gets into stealing and thievery and whatnot, and then goes to jail and then joins the Nation of Islam. And then why, like he bristled at it at first and then eventually kind of began to understand what they were selling. I'm not saying selling is a bad thing, but just that's what you're at. When you're proselytizing, you're salesman for your religion.
Absolutely.
But he falls for Elijah Muhammad and holds him up to what he shouldn't be, which you basically made him infallible, and he's human, so of course he's going to be fallible. And when he goes to Mecca afterwards to see that we're all one people, and you've been helped leading the protest, now you can come back and be, more educated and wizened and take with your life experiences and help us all grow past this.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a movie.
Well, for too long in the country, and like you, man, I read the book, and then you watch the movie. It's autobiography from Alex Haley in high school. And then you watch the movie, and you're right. The movie is the thing that really kind of, when you watch the movie, you're like, wait a minute. I've been told by the mainstream presentation of numerous people that Malcolm X was an angry black man who advocated a radical who advocated the killing of white people.
Yeah, they wanted to pipe bomb every white assembly type of. It was the same thing that Louis Farrakhan, when I was really younger, people, did their saber rattling about him.
Right, and then you go and study his history, and you go, he was angry at the year or the decades of racism and oppression that was happening to him, seeing it through numerous people in his life, and then hearing it from stories, and getting into the Nation of Islam. And the Nation of Islam was trying to restore black pride to, once again, a race of people that had been turned into this docile people, like what you was talking about with the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Docile people who were beaten into submission, attacked by dogs, had hoses turned on them, and he was trying to restore pride back. Now, Elijah, of course, flawed leader, all of that stuff, sleeping with those young girls, having that's aside. But you see that Malcolm X like every other human being with half a rational brain, progresses and changes his points of views. And by the end, he understands that there are good and black people, there are good and bad white people. And his perception of the world is more wide open. Why? Because he traveled, because he saw the world, he saw different races, he saw different cultures. And so his mind was expanded. And that is so essential to understanding his transition, his change, his evolution as a human being, as a leader. And so his death, when you read about it, when you watch it in the movie, is just as tragic for me as MLK's death, in my opinion, because his evolution could have served as an even more powerful tool to show people that you can start with anger, but you can move into peace. And that's important.
It could have been a great catalyst for change.
Yes. Yeah.
He could have been, one of the voices, the true voices of his generation that posthumously, I think, has grown. Right?
Yes.
And it speaks to the power of art like this. You can entertain and educate.
Yeah.
You help change and better fill out my understanding of the world, at large.
Yeah.
Is the movie perfect? No, but what movie is?
Right.
But Denzel is fantastic, and this is Spike's best work, in my opinion. So, anyway.
Certainly his most accomplished work. I would agree with you on that, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's our separate top 10 lists. We are now going to combine the lists as I bring down the bongos.
Alrighty. Start writing now. So, Malcolm X, number 1.
One of our fans gave us those alien loaders. Gave me the
alien loaders?
Yeah, okay. From Alien. Just mentioning that.
Yeah,
he tweeted about it, so letting him know it is on my shelf. It's always on my shelf.
Let's see. We both don't have each other number 2, but we have Hunger at 3.
Yeah.
So I would say Hunger goes to 2.
Okay.
Probably Do the Right Thing.
All right. Yeah. And what about Gandhi?
Oh yeah,
Gandhi's my 4. Where do you put it now in your list?
I think I would put it 4. Where do you have Do the Right Thing?
5.
Okay, so then it goes Gandhi, then Do the Right Thing.
Okay.
All right, so do you want to address our number 2s?
Yeah, what's your number 2 again?
Cry Freedom, and yours is Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah. Why don't you choose on this one?
Cuckoo's Nest is a better movie.
Right. But Cry Freedom, is there any protests at all in Cry Freedom? There's just him doing the speeches, right?
Oh, no, there's the protest that they show where the people all got killed.
Right.
It sparked Biko to basically become a louder voice.
Right.
In the community. So, yeah. So there's more of a protest in that sense than anything Cuckoo's Nest has.
Okay. Fair. All right. It's a good film. I remember Peter Gabriel's song for it. Biko. All right.
We both have Milk and Norma Ray and Selma.
Okay.
Where'd you have Milk again?
10.
So 6'10". Norma Ray.
Okay.
Where'd you have Selma?
9.
All right. So then I would say Milk, Selma, V for Vendetta.
Okay.
And we're done.
Damn. That was great. Yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. The top 10 protest films, yeah. At number 10.
V for Vendetta.
At number 9.
Selma.
At number 8.
Milk.
At number 7.
Norma Ray.
At number 6.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
At number 5.
Cry Freedom.
At number 4.
Do the Right Thing.
At number 3.
Gandhi.
At number 2.
Hunger.
And our number 1 protest film is
Malcolm X.
I Am Malcolm X. I love that movie. Love that ending too. Well, there you go. That's our official list of the top 10 protest films from the Top 10 Show. Thank you all so much for listening to us or watching us. If you're watching us on the YouTube channel, thank you so much. And I hope we, gave you the mixture of entertainment and education today, and maybe even distracted you from a lot of the madness going on out there and entertained you for a while and put a smile on your face or kind of lightened your load a little bit. We love doing the show together, and we love, making you guys laugh and helping you guys just kind of deal with your daily lives. So many of you have reached out to us over the years and told us how we kind of helped you through tough times. So hopefully we're doing that again with our show this week.
Stay safe out there, even more so.
Yeah.
Take precautions when and where you can.
Please do.
We have, I guess we should say that.
Yeah.
Starting next month, we're going to have our show. We're still working on a name for it, but basically, in essence, is Top 10 Jeopardy, and the winner of the overall tournament gets to be a guest on the show. And you can find out about it over at patreon.com/the top 10 with the number 10, but it's a $20 and up tier. You'll be entered because we're retiring for now, the relist. So we're going to do this in its place. Hopefully you guys like it. And, shows out of it, and ultimately somebody gets to be a guest on the show. So it should be fun for everybody. And you can follow me anywhere at Matt Nost, and that's it for me this week.
Okay. You can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't forget to come over to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/John Rocha Says. Doing a lot of content concerning all this stuff this week. I never shy away from the tough issues. So we do talk about all that this week. So please swing on over there. And if you're just listening to us on the podcast and you want to watch our pretty faces, go over to our YouTube channel, the Top 10. Find the Top 10. You'll see our logo, and you'll see Matt and I there. So please go and subscribe to that as we explore turning that into making some money off of as well. Getting that monetized. So please get involved there. So thank you all so much. And as Matt said, please take care of yourselves. Please be safe out there. Exercise your right, your freedom of speech, absolutely. But please be careful out there, and because we all want to see you back next week for another episode of the Top 10 Show. Take care until then.